Hi, this is Susana Rios again, and I'm going to share my last video with my insights from the readings for this week. I find that my ideological consciousness has been created unconsciously from many sources and contexts that I have lived in. However, I acknowledge that it's not the contexts nor the people, but my predisposition to know more about things and events around me what could position me as a critical epistemological educator. I truly do not abide with all the components that Kincheloe mentions, especially those practices of critical complex epistemology. Not because I don't agree with them, but because my critical epistemology stage remains naive and uneducated. I am, however, trying to find ways to comfort and position myself as a critical pedagogue. And what I found is that I know little. And in my research for more knowledge, I am starting to use human networks and technology networks that are helping me shape what I take for granted from the media and the world around me. Part of this self-reflective exercise is the central notion that what I may acquire as knowledge, it may not be totally true simply because I like the facts of its origin, its purpose, its contextual framework, and its validity and applicability to what I know as learning and teaching. I learned that when I engage into an evolving critical epistemology routine, I must create, not reflect, new knowledge and understand that the production of controlled knowledge, or as Kincheloe puts, certified knowledge, it's only virtual and becomes true after I understand and analyze that that knowledge has been produced and controlled by certain power entities and deployed with the specific self-centered interests. I must inquire about the interpretation that these power entities utilized before they delivered the certified knowledge. Without this type of reflection, I may encounter myself with a socially constructed consciousness that is not true to me. It's not applicable, and it's hard to believe. With a critical epistemology, I could, as an educator, conceptualize my place in the society and analyze self-production as self-understanding. Construct new ideological consciousness by challenging the status quo. Form a vision of a new humanity that is loving and kind and extra-centered, not intra-centered. Construct new knowledge from a broad array of networks around me. Identify dominant power structures and engage into critical epistemological discoveries to decode their interpretations of knowledge. Identify students' talents and drive instructions around a generative theme taken from the students' knowledge of their own lived experiences as Freire or Shore studied. As a teacher, I don't want my students to experience knowledge in the form of unexamined deposits, as Freire explains in the banking model, where knowledge is deposited in the minds of the students. Under an epistemological educational point of view, I want my students to engage with questions like, how do you get stuck with this body of knowledge? And what do you consider valid and important knowledge, and which part of it should become part of your learning, as Kincheloe mentions? I want my students to know that they are in charge of identifying who they are and what they should know. I want them to feel that our classroom is a safe place where their cultures and languages are valued instead of mitigated. Why couldn't I ask my kindergartners what animal they would like to know more about? Why shouldn't their inner-driven knowledge impact my curriculum? How come we tend to think that because they are young, they don't know? I believe that young children have social and emotional capabilities that many of us adults lack from. Compassion, empathy, collaboration, understanding, and yes, discipline. I just finished a school year after grading 57 kindergartners that I had in my classroom. And what I can say is that 100% of them can read and write. However, my thinking goes further, and I try to imagine that regardless of the academic progress they have demonstrated, I would like to survey their insights this upcoming school year and see how they feel about school. Since kindergarten, I can tell you, has changed so much over the years that it's not about just cutting butterflies, singing, and playing with blocks all day long. And last but not least, I would like to share also my struggles with the reading. I have three main struggles. The first one is that I would like to have had more of information about the studies that Kincheloe mentions about the social context of schooling that pointed out that poor and racially marginalized students had learned to view academic work and the testing of technical standards as unreal, as a series of short-term tasks rather than activities with long-term significance for their lives. Please pardon my naiveness, but as a teacher I struggle in imagining an elementary student in contemporary time being able to craft such terminology. Therefore, I'm just asking, I really would like to know more about these studies. What is the name of the studies? What school did they took into consideration? When was the research conducted? In what country? What was the age group targeted? And also, what was the total number of students interviewed? My second struggle is with, again, Kincheloe whenever he tackles the term of objectivity. My question is why Kincheloe does not drive more into objectivity when talking about interpreting knowledge production. I'm just curious. And the last one is about the many concepts that critical pedagogy where Kincheloe mentions that I felt connected with. It's one that it's love. And according to Kincheloe, he says that critical pedagogy believes that nothing is impossible when we work in solidarity and with love, respect, and justice as our guiding lights. He also mentions that love is the basis of an education that seeks justice, equality, and genius. However, a teacher's job is to care and love. So how do we measure teachers' performance? I ask, when love is a subjective matter. To make my point, in some cultures, for example, to demonstrate that you love your country entails killing other people from other countries, etc. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you soon.